Welcome to How to Give a Dog a Good Life, the podcast where we explore the journey of creating a fulfilling and joyful life with our canine companions. I'm Corinna, and over the past 16 years, my dog Louie has been my steadfast companion, teaching me invaluable lessons on love, loyalty, and the human-animal bond. In this limited series, we'll walk through each year of Louie's life, sharing stories, insights, and practical tips to help you enhance your own relationship with your dog. From the challenges of puppyhood to the wisdom of senior years, we're going to cover it all. I'll offer guidance on training, health, and creating lasting memories. So whether you're a new dog owner or you've shared your life with dogs for years, join me as we embark on this heartfelt journey to understand what it truly means to give a dog a good life. Welcome to How to Give a Dog a Good Life. Hi everyone, welcome back. In today's episode, we're going to talk about year 2 and if dogs get the terrible twos, which they do. This was exacerbated by the fact that I was 17 at the time as well. Rough year. Rough year for both Lou and I. We both got into trouble. It was tumultuous. So before I dive deeper into adventures with little Louie, let's go over today's nonprofit highlight and adoptable dogs. Today's nonprofit highlight and spotlight is on Louie's Legacy. Louie's Legacy Animal Rescue is an amazing nonprofit. I've had so many friends foster for them. They're a nonprofit and no-kill animal rescue based in Cincinnati, a few other locations in the Midwest, as well as Staten Island. They're proudly foster-based. They live in homes, not shelters. This is a huge win for this nonprofit. Not only that, but they have a Mutts and Muscles Calendar launching this month for the holidays. Ladies, I'm telling you, get this calendar. They have 3 cuties available. They have Apollo, who's a pity mix, Petey, who's a pity mix, and Rami, who's a toy poodle, and he is so cute. I absolutely love his little face. And that rounds up the nonprofit highlight. So year 2, again, really hard. And they're still finalizing that end of the year, rounding out the puppy stage. This year was really hard. I was 17, basically raising a teenage dog. He was absolutely wild. This is really when his adventurous and independent spirit started to take hold. It drove me mad. But I was just as wild. I was 17. And that summer, somehow he figured out how to climb the back fence, and he became quite the escape artist. He began a habit out of escaping and just wandering about the neighborhood, so I'd routinely have to go and chase him down. One of the worst days, he escaped and was gone for hours. Finally, he came back and I noticed a massive gash on his leg. I rushed him to the vet in absolute panic mode, and he ended up getting staples in his leg. It was one of the most painful things I had to watch. I'll never forget holding him while they took this giant staple gun to his leg, and I just started crying. He was fine. He was calm as ever. And that's honestly when I noticed how much of a stoic he was, just a natural-born stoic. He could go through so much pain and never show it. Dogs are undeniably graced. Well, not all dogs, but there are definitely a lot of dogs that are undeniably graced with a spirit of enduring joy that reflects stoic teachings about anchoring oneself in the present. Basically, once an unpleasant experience is over, a dog doesn't mull over it. It doesn't feel sorry for itself, and it doesn't hold a grudge or develop guilt. It simply moves on. There's a lot to learn about how and Louie was able to move on so quickly. Sometimes that can be a concerning trait to look for because you don't know when they're in pain. You don't know if he's hurt his leg or his paw or he has a foxtail in between his toes because he never shows pain. But at least I understood that that was part of his personality from early on, so I knew what to look for later, and I knew he wouldn't show certain emotions later. He was just always so brave. This is also the summer he learned how to swim. We'd go to my best friend's parents' house. It was a group of high school friends, and we'd spend the day swimming and have pool parties. And this is when he really started to fall in love with not only just swimming, but competition. And this is where he learned to love to race in the pool. Race became a very fun word for him, and it would just set him off. It would just really light him up the second we would get on one side of the pool and then race each other from one side to the other. It genuinely made him feel so proud when he would win, which is kind of ironic because this is the same year I was pulled over with him with me. I was with a group of high school friends and my boyfriend at the time, and we were driving in the middle of Kentucky. It was dead at night, maybe around 9 o'clock at night, and I just got my Beamer. I was so excited about it. It was my first car, and no one, I mean absolutely no one, was on this kind of like a highway in the middle of Kentucky, 9 o'clock at night, and out of nowhere, this Mustang comes up next to me and he decides to race me. I can never say no to a challenge. I love being challenged. And so there we were, me and all my friends, Lou in the back seat. Again, no one was around, straight path, straight road. And I think the fastest I was going was 120 miles per hour. And then all of a sudden the Mustang just took off. And I look in my rearview mirror and there were the cop lights. And then another, and then another, and then another. I was pulled over by no less than 5 cops. They breathalyzed me. I hadn't been drinking. I was still too young at the time. And everything worked out fine. And I ended up with just a speeding ticket. One of the worst things I have ever done, probably. Maybe not, but definitely one of the worst things I was ever caught doing. I'll say that. To be 17. Later that fall, my mom rescued a pair of baby squirrels. They were so tiny. She just found them in the backyard. I think they may have fallen out of a tree or a nest or something. We have no clue where they came from. And so she researched and researched and researched on how to take care of these baby squirrels. And we ended up finding out that they had to drink special cat's milk. We had to bottle feed them every few hours. Louie was less than thrilled. At first, he would just kind of sulk in a corner, glaring at the squirrels. He would just pout. Again, that poodle mindset, their personality of like holding grudges and just kind of like just being pouty generally. And he had to share attention for the first time, which he did not like. And then one day, one of the baby squirrels just disappeared. And we searched everywhere. It made no sense. I mean, these things were so tiny. They didn't even have hair on them. They certainly couldn't walk. So we couldn't believe how or where this baby squirrel would just vanish. It took us a long time, but eventually we found one of these squirrels in the closet. And we put it together that Louie picked it up and like hid it. He tried to hide it in the closet. He was so careful. The squirrel didn't have any sort of injuries whatsoever. And he was tucked just inside like a little blanket in the closet. And he just did that out of attention seeking. He did not like to share. I've heard stories of other dogs doing this. And it usually is a combination of instincts and emotions, specifically jealousy and attention seeking. Dogs are highly social animals and form strong bonds. When their usual level of attention is diverted, they may feel left out, insecure. Louie, obviously being the center of my world, probably viewed the squirrels as rivals for my affection. Also, dogs do this for research guarding, which means it could be linked to a mild form of trying to protect his resources, his need for control, not out of aggression, but to claim ownership and regain a sense of balance in the household dynamic, since he was the one that was always so doted on, and then we brought in something else to care for. It also could be natural curiosity. Dogs are naturally curious. The scent, sounds, movements of a baby squirrel could have intrigued him, and he hid the squirrel out of almost like curiosity and not necessarily malice or treating it like a treasure. I don't know if that's necessarily correct. but also companionship instincts. Louie's careful at handling squirrels, but since his mom was taking care of it, it was likely more of some sort of jealousy or insecure tactic. So what does this teach us about dogs? Louie's actions reminded me of how deeply dogs care and feel, how creatively they respond to changes in their environment, and how incredibly intuitive they are. They pick up on shifts in attention and emotions, behaviors, and reflect on instinct as well as loyalty. He was just trying to recalibrate his new place in this dynamic. Fall later changed to winter, and one of the craziest stories that I have about Lou this year was walking him around the lake near my parents' house. During one snow day, we were going for a walk, and he wanted to chase the geese. Somehow, he wiggled out of his harness and started running across the ice to chase these geese. He ended up falling through the ice. It was one of the most terrifying moments of my life. I was with my boyfriend at the time, and he got ready to go in after him, and I told him not to do that. I started panicking, and then all of a sudden, thankfully, Louie pulled himself out of the ice and came running back over to me. I could not believe it. I immediately unzipped my coat and I put him in there with me, and I carried this 50-pound dog home to make sure that he wouldn't be too cold. Again, we had to go to the vet's office. He ended up being fine, but oh my God, that was one of the most terrifying moments I've ever experienced. If you have a lake near your house, I created a list just to avoid this sort of scenario or situation and what to do if your dog ever does fall through the ice. Stay calm, don't panic. It's natural to panic, but staying calm will help you act clearly and efficiently. And your dog's going to feed off your energy. That's what our dogs do. So try to protect your calmness. And definitely, I did this. I knew this going ahead of time. You don't want to go into the ice yourself. Never walk across the ice unless it's completely confirmed that it's thick enough to be stable. Because if you end up going in, obviously you're both going to be in danger, and then you're both screwed. Instead, focus on reaching and helping your dog get to solid ground. Call for help if you're in a populated area, or call 911. Firefighters usually get cats out of trees, right? They'd be more than happy to get a dog out of a lake. Another solution, you could reach out with an object to your dog using the leash or a stick or a branch or a scarf and encourage your dog to grab onto it. That would probably be one of the best ways to help with that. And then if your dog does get stuck in the ice, do exactly what I did. Get him warm immediately. Wrap him up in a blanket or a coat. Hypothermia can set in quickly. So try to minimize the exposure and warm them up as soon as possible. And then, of course, take them to the vet. And to prevent this from happening to you and your dog in the future, don't be a dunce like I was, and make sure their leash and harness is attached very, very well. Try to avoid getting too close to the lake, avoid icy areas, or if you want to be extra careful, use a floating harness. Or you could get a harness with a built-in handle. I highly recommend this for all year, for going to the dog park, in and out of the car. As Louie got older and he needed help going up and down the stairs, having a harness with a built-in handle really was a game changer for that period of his life. Speaking of dog parks, you now have a 2-year-old, so you're probably ready to take them to the dog park. So I created a list of dog park etiquette, do's and don'ts. Dog parks have been a huge part of my life. I've spent almost one day a week at a dog park for the past 16 years. It is absolutely crucial for developing and creating other dog bonds for your pup to be socialized and live a good life. But sometimes going to the dog park can be overwhelming or dangerous if you don't know what rules to follow or you're unsure of dog park etiquette. Here's a list of do's. Something not everyone's going to tell you is be wary of holiday weekends. You're going to get the rooks, people who don't normally go to dog parks on Memorial Day weekend, 4th of July weekend. It's going to be really overwhelming, and you're going to see far more dog fights during holiday periods or during summer breaks than you normally will. This shouldn't change the fact that you take your dog to the park during these times, but it is something to be aware of that you're going to have more rookies than usual. I'll never forget, one of the worst fights I've ever seen at the dog park was Memorial Day weekend. And this adorable Shiba Inu was attacked by this pit bull. And this pit bull just had the Shiba Inu in his jaw and shook him and shook him and shook him and would not let him go. And the owner eventually got him and just ran to the vet. I never saw that man again, and I have thought about him at least once a week for the past 10 years. It's scary when that happens. It is really scary. The first thing, obviously, that you're thinking about is how can you take care of your dog? How can you protect him? You know, you have all these different thoughts and emotions running through your head. You're driving to that dog hospital, and you're driving while in a panic state, so it's dangerous for you to be in the car. Just try to keep calm as much as you can and get them to the vet as soon as possible. Always keep your dog's personality in mind and be observant. So not all dogs love going to the dog park. If you do tend to have more of a shy or reactive, let's say you have a foster that was never socialized, or they had a traumatic experience, they came from a shelter, so that socialization process is much more challenging than a 2-year-old or a 1-year-old that you have had since they were a puppy. So maybe consider alternative activities like going for walks or smaller play dates with someone you know, coworker, friends that have dogs, something a little bit more intimate than something as overwhelming as a full packed dog park on a Saturday morning. With that in mind, you always want to supervise your dog when you are at the dog park. Watch for signs of discomfort, overstimulation, aggressive behavior. Don't be one of those people that's constantly sitting on their phones, not paying attention. That's how problems happen if you aren't tapped in to your surroundings. Generally, you don't want to bring new puppies in, especially if they only just got vaxxed or they aren't quite fully vaccinated yet. Don't bring an aggressive or anxious dog. Don't bring toys. Toys and treats can potentially cause scuffles, and don't ignore red flags. If you notice a dog displaying aggressive behavior or bullying, make sure you go ahead, remove your dog. Nothing can happen from leaving the dog park too early. You also want to respect dog size specific areas. This is a problem that I see happening pretty frequently, is not all small dogs want to be around large breeds. So if you have a big breed, make sure you put them in the big breed section. Small dogs can go either or. If you have a small dog that loves bigger dogs, I know Louie's best friend Remington loves bigger dogs, so they like to play together. So it doesn't matter if you bring your small dog to the large dog section, but you definitely want to make sure that you pay attention and look for any sort of aggressive behavior. And another tip is you want to make sure that you bring water just in case the dog park doesn't have any. With Louie, we always made sure we had basically a diaper bag where all of his toys, treats, poop baggies, and water were all packed up for whenever we left the house. And that wraps up the dog park etiquette do's and don'ts. Today, I thought it would be fun to do a top 5 roundup of the 5 most popular breeds in America. Coming in at number 1, we have the French Bulldog. The French Bulldog has been the most popular dog breed for the past 3 years. Probably because they're cute little bite-sized doggies that can go and travel with you anywhere. They're known for their compact size and have cute bat-like ears, and they're pretty affectionate. They've become increasingly more popular, especially in urban areas, in the 15-minute cities. They're generally pretty friendly and great companions. I know I have like 5 different neighbors that have one. They're always the most popular at the small dog section at the dog park. Coming in at number 2, the classic Lab. Labs are just the cutest. They're so happy and go lucky, and they're celebrated for their friendly and outgoing personalities. They're really intelligent, and they're great for roles including service dogs, therapy work. They're famous for their friendly demeanor, which makes them the perfect service dog, and they're one of the best breeds you could have for families. Coming in at number 3, also one of the best breeds you could get for a family, a Golden Retriever. They're known for being overwhelmingly friendly, super tolerant. Again, last episode, I called them little love bugs. They really are just the sweetest, most intelligent little love bugs, and they're great for families. Coming in at number 4, we have the German Shepherd. Shepherds are known for their intelligence, loyalty, and versatility. They're famous for their roles in police and military work, search and rescue. They excel as service dogs, specifically for working like police, military, search and rescue. Shedding is intense, but overall, the most loyal They're great protectors and very, very sweet. And coming in at number 5, we have the poodle. We went over them in the last episode. Of course, they're super intelligent, trainable, and hyperallergenic. Rounding up the 5 most famous dog breeds and diving right into the breed spotlight. Today's breed spotlight, I wanted to do the most popular dog. Let's do the French Bulldog. The French Bulldog actually originated in England, which threw me off, but they gained their name and fame from France during the 19th century. They became a really popular breed because they were so compact, which again, today, still checks. The lifespan's usually around 10 to 12 years, and their temperament is pretty affectionate and very loyal. French Bulldogs really thrive on human companionship, and they're known for their strong bonds with families. They love to cuddle, and they enjoy being the center of attention. They're really playful, but low energy. You really want to take a French Bulldog out running with you. They're generally pretty laid back, which makes them great for condos, or if you live in an apartment. They're also known for being pretty social and social butterflies. Their exercise needs are pretty moderate. They only need about 30 minutes of exercise a day. They pretty much can go on just a short walk or gentle playtime, but be sure to avoid overheating because they can overheat easily due to their short snouts. As far as grooming goes, they're pretty low maintenance. They do have short and smooth coats, which really doesn't require too much grooming. A weekly brushing is all you're really going to need with them. Besides standard trimming their nails and regular cleaning their ears to avoid any sort of infection, especially because their giant ears can trap dirt. Some health considerations and general health concerns is you might want to watch out for breathing problems, especially since they do have that short snout. So you have to watch out for overheating or respiratory distress. As far as training and intelligence, they're really eager to please. They can learn commands really quickly, and consistency is key. They can be a little bit stubborn, so patience is going to be required here. And house training, just like many small breeds, house training is going to take time. Frequent potty breaks and a regular potty schedule are required here. French Bulldogs are great with kids. They're very gentle, loving, and patient with children, which makes them really good family pets. They adapt to various lifestyles, but solo time really isn't their thing. They crave attention and companionship and don't do well left alone for long periods of time. A few fun facts about French Bulldogs. The bat ears weren't always the norm. Early Frenchies had sharper ears. They're also quiet communicators. Unlike other small breeds, French Bulldogs aren't big barkers. Instead, they kind of talk or use grunts and expressive looks instead of a big vocal bark. Frenchies are also really popular with celebrities. Lady Gaga and The Rock also have them. And general things to consider if you want to get a French Bulldog: they're a great fit if you want a loyal, affectionate companion who's good in small spaces and likes a laid-back lifestyle. If you prefer dogs that want more high energy, that you want to go hiking or have an active lifestyle with, this might not be the one for you. And that rounds up today's episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Next week, we're going to go over year 3. That was a really big year for me. We finally got out of the puppy stage, and I was headed off to college. Can't wait to tell you all about it. Ta-ta!